I've used these statistics to underline or to try to highlight some of the performance-related issues that we have to face within the educational system. And obviously, the questions of the adequacy of our current level of performance loom large. But equally important is the issue of accountability, and this accountability is at all levels of the system. There are questions about the accountability of parents, of the teachers, of the students themselves, of the principals of these educational institutions. There are questions of accountability of those who advise the ministries and ministers and the schools. There are issues of accountability of the ministry officials. There are questions of accountability of the Minister of Education, and he will speak later today. And there are also questions of accountability of the Ministry of Finance. I think the truth is that we can't have accountability if we don't have appropriate levels of measurement. You can hold somebody accountable, but if you can't figure out whether they're performing or not, it's neither here nor there whether they're being held accountable. And so it's important that in thinking about this accountability, we think about how we institute measurement systems and how we make that information available to both those persons who are being held accountable, but those who can use the information to enhance performance from those who are being held accountable. It is for all of these reasons that it seems to me that a symposium that has as interesting an array of papers to be presented today as is represented in your program is something that we here at the University of the West Indies not only support but stand ready to participate in and to learn from, and to express the strongest possible commitment of the university to transform our own School of Education and the educational system to be a major player in the transformation and reform of the Jamaican educational system. So with those comments, I would like to, John, say how grateful we are to have this opportunity and to be able to participate in this very important conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gordon, for your kind words. CaPRI, incidentally, is funded by a variety of sources. From the local private sector, the university provides support, the Canadian International Development Agency and the International Development Research Council in Canada. But we've also benefited from the support of the donor community for specific initiatives. It's no secret that USAID at the moment is particularly interested in education and has put its support to projects that drive that particular agenda. But I would add to that I think Karen Hilliard has shown a personal commitment, a very strong personal commitment to this particular area, seeing it as the real, as we do, and as the principal himself just said, as the key to the future growth and development of this country is going to be in education in a very disproportionate way. And so she didn't hesitate to throw her full support behind this particular conference. We're very grateful that she made it a possibility and that USAID made it a possibility. So I've asked her to come join us this morning and just help us launch these proceedings. Karen?
Professor Shirley, Principal of the University of the West Indies, Dr. Rapley, President of CaPRI, special guests from Partnership for Educational Revitalization in the Americas, PREAL, including Jeffrey Perrier, the Ministry of Education, ladies and gentlemen, fellow devotees of education in Jamaica. Professor Errol Miller, former university professor and director of the Joint Board for Teacher Education, once said, and I quote, "If you want to see what the society of the future is going to look like, look in the schools. It either frightens you to death or consoles you, but it is the society of the future." I couldn't agree more with this statement, and I'm sure many of you share this concern. Education is indeed one of the most decisive factors for national progress. 5 years ago, a consultative approach to education transformation was used to generate a national vision for education under the theme, "Every child can learn, every child must learn." This framed Jamaica's education system reform, and today the Education Transformation Program has become a household phrase for many Jamaicans. In contribution to the reform efforts, USAID is pleased to partner with CaPRI and PREAL to make today's conference a reality, and we hope that today's conference is one in a series of dialogues that we hope to foster between the public and private sectors around this very urgent matter of educational quality and accountability in Jamaica. In Jamaica, several factors contribute to poor performance in education. At the school and classroom levels, many school administrators and teachers have limited resources and are not adequately trained to manage disadvantaged students, and particularly students with learning disabilities. Furthermore, education financing is disproportionately directed to the higher levels of education in Jamaica, as it is in other parts of the world. Now, this is not to say that secondary and tertiary education are not important, and as a former university professor myself, it would be treasonous to imply such a thing. Nevertheless, I think though we need to support this level of professional development as an important factor in the growth of Jamaica's economy, we have to recognize that the higher levels of education in Jamaica serve a smaller number of people. And this results in a situation where preschool, primary, and in some cases secondary education are underfinanced, comparatively speaking. We have to do more to increase the financing at the levels where we can build a solid foundation for educational achievement at higher levels. Jamaica is very challenged, particularly at the primary level, by inadequate school infrastructure and staffing. I myself have personally visited several schools since I've been here, and I must tell you, I look at the teachers and the students in those classrooms with great respect, particularly when I watch them work so hard, even though they occupy overcrowded classrooms without partitions, without ventilation, and in some cases without even adequate sanitary infrastructure at the school. In some of the rural schools that I visited, the teacher-student ratios in the primary grades are 1 to 60. And I personally witnessed the din and heard the din that you experience in the classrooms like that. And I must say my hat's off to the teachers in these schools for achieving the kinds of results that they're achieving under such difficult circumstances. Poor educational quality, in part driven by some of these factors, manifests itself in underachievement of students at the primary level and in lower than desirable secondary and tertiary continuation rates, especially for boys. The disparity between girls' and boys' academic achievement in Jamaica follows them to the tertiary level. And I'm sure that Principal Shirley will correct me if my statistic is no longer current, but the most recent statistics we have for enrollment at UE reveal that only about 19% of the student body is male. This, coupled with the fact that many 15 to 24-year-old males are not gainfully employed, presents a critical situation. If they're not in school and they're not at work, where are they? I think we know where many of them are.